Well, welcome and aloha, everyone, to my Exopolitics podcast. This is Dr. Michael Salla, and I'm very pleased to once again have Elena Danaan as a guest, and looking forward to hearing everything Elena would like to share.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very pleased you invited me for a second time. Um, I would like first to give an update regarding to Stefan Chua, the whistleblower from Area 51. I was feeling very remorseful to have allowed him to do an interview with me because he's been asking me a lot, and although I gave him the choice, he seemed very determined, and he lost his life. He passed away after the interview, a few days after. So imagine how I was feeling. So a few days ago, I'd say 2 days ago, I had someone contacted me by email saying there's a person very famous in the UFO research community, and which is quite mediatic person, who would like to contact you by phone. So I gave my phone number. This person phoned me, and this person said that Stefan Chua had already contacted him a while ago, and wanting to disclose all his information because he was feeling threatened. And so this person said to Stefan, you need really to consider it because it can be very dangerous for you. So please consider it and come back to me if really, really you've decided. But I wouldn't advise because your life will, you know. And this person never heard about him again. And then Stefan contacted me. And this person told me, he was determined. You have nothing to do like this. And if you had refused to do it, he would have asked someone else until someone would have agreed to do it. So this relieved a weight out of my shoulders. And that really, I could really, move on. And this person said that also Stefan made gave me offer me the privilege to help me release his burden, and it was an honor, and it really was an honor that he chose me to do so. So I really honor this, and this is it. And other people apparently who are in Stefan's situation to know things have had a warning as well. So I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
So that's the update.
Thank you. Yes, that's very important because it does confirm that Stephen Chow was very aware that his life was in danger by coming
Yes.
forward, and that he was still wanting to do that. And he pressed and contacted others before contacting you, at least one other that we
Yeah.
know of, and then eventually to tell his story through you. And his other thing is that we have his obituary now, that it confirmed the date of his passing was March 6th, and that he was someone that worked in the Singapore military. And I've actually uh, contacted, been contacted by some Singapore officials who are looking into his military records. They're looking into it for me, and I did approach their military. I sent in a request for his military record. So I hope that we'll get some confirmation about his military records, because he says he worked for 10 years and he was in this elite Singaporean squad that was specially trained to fight all sorts of enemies, including extraterrestrials. So that would be great to get that confirmation.
Yes.
So I thought for this interview, it would be good to introduce my audience more to you and your special background, because I think you have a really remarkable background, and your contact experiences are something that are very compelling. I have read your book, A Gift from the Stars. So in that book, I mean, you describe, you give a lot of information, but it seems that there's one incident that really kind of like was pivotal in everything else that happened, and that happened when you were around 9 years old, and involved an alien rescue. So why don't you tell the audience what happened?
Thank you. So I was abducted by Grace from Zeta Reticuli. What happened? I saw a UFO hovering above the house the night before, and it was a traditional flying saucer, metallic, with a dome above and a dome under, very elegant, radiating with orange halo around it. And it was very, very close to the house. And it was there hovering, and my grandmother and myself were very hypnotized by it. And the UFO suddenly changed color to white and just shot off in the sky in a zigzag, like toom toom toom, like this, quick like this. And I had last year to do a hypnosis, to undergo hypnosis session to really find out what had happened that night, because the following morning, the only memory I had was to wake up the following morning in my bed, naked, and my lower body covered by blood, and I had triangular marks in my inside of my wrists, and a big headache. So I was hospitalized for 2 months because they couldn't find out what it was. So going back to this event, what hypnosis found out, it was quite mind-blowing. I wasn't expecting this. So I was this night, 3 small grays beamed into my room, and there was this blue light beam, and they dragged me in. And at the moment I was unable to speak, move. There was no sound coming out of me. I was very numb, and it was light, but in the same time kind of that has a substance that was very weird. And this light allowed us to lift and go through the roof. It was going through the materials, through the of the building. Thinking about it afterwards, I suppose this was maybe of a higher density, or I don't know. People will explain that better than I do, because I'm just an experiencer, not a scientist. And I was beamed on board the ship. I found myself on the cold floor, and the air was very thin. I had difficulty to breathe, and it was very cold. They removed my clothes, my nightgown very automatically, like very quickly. They are very used to that. They go very fast. It's like a factory. They must do a lot of people in one night. They lay me down on a metallic table. They strapped my ankles, my neck, and my wrists. And these wrist straps had tiny needles, very, very tiny, in the shape of a triangle. And I was explained afterwards that was putting a kind of a serum in my body to have to do something to do with my nervous system. So I was there, terrified. So I could see my heart was beating and I was breathing, but the rest of my muscles weren't functioning. And my eyes, I had my peripheral vision like everyone, but I couldn't move the eyeballs. It was very interesting. Um, I was, of course, terrified. One of them drilled in the back of my head with a tool with double needle. It was turning very fast. It was very thin needles. I knew afterwards that they had inserted an implant, a tracker. I could feel the pain, but bearable. It was very painful, but I suppose if that had happened without numbing my nervous system, maybe halfway, I don't know, I think I would have died with the pain. That's, but it was painful but bearable. And they two other ones insert something in my belly with a long oblong metallic instrument, and that was what caused the bleedings. At that moment, so there were then 4 small grays, and it was really the synthetic life forms without any feelings, really like robots, inexpressive, cold. And then came a 5th one, small gray but a little bit bigger, and he looked like a living being. He was a biological. Seemed to be the overseer, the captain of the ship, I don't know. And he was very stressed. They was talking by telepathy, and he was hurrying them. I understood he was hurrying them to finish their task. And at that moment, there was the whole structure just trembled, shaked, and I was already traumatized and very scared. So at that point, it was even more. So how could that be possible?
Before we go on to the next part of the story, maybe you can just explain a little bit so that the 4 greys that abducted you, that they looked synthetic, they looked robotic, but this 5th one came along who was in command. He was a little bit taller and he looked more human. So can you explain, what was he, like a hybrid, or was he like another type of gray?
It didn't look hybrid. I would say gray, another type of gray, with a small nose, very small. The bone structure of the face was more complex, so you could see it was really a real being with all the muscles and the articulation and the cheekbones and expressions. He didn't have any eyebrows, but he could frown his forehead. The muscles were playing on the face. He really looked real, like biological, a person, but he was a gray. I didn't have the impression he was a hybrid. Maybe he was, I don't know. But the other ones had features. They were smaller, thinner, and their features were way more simple. No nose, just a slit for the mouth, and very simple head. So simple, simplified at the maximum, I'd say, and very skinny, and they were moving like mechanical, like very fast. I could see the difference.
Right. So we could say that so the one that was in command, that's an actual gray from Zeta Reticulum, but even the grays from Zeta Reticulum have drones or clones or something that look like them, that we call grays. We lump them all together, but there's a distinct difference, so that the grays themselves use gray synthetics as kind of robots to do the menial work.
That's it. That's
Okay.
what I agree totally with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I understood it.
Mm-hmm. Great. So now you're down there, that they've inserted something into your stomach, and then you start to. Like one other thing, you were talking about hearing the one the one that was in command giving telepathic commands to the other four. So, you know, were you hearing the other four? Could you hear the other four communicating amongst themselves, or was it just the one that was in command? You could only hear him.
I couldn't hear anyone as long as they were talking telepathically. They weren't communicating with me at all.
Oh, I see.
And when the ship started to tremble, the first shock, I would say the captain, the biological one, he addressed to the synthetics vocally. I think he panicked at something, and the first time, the only time I heard him talking their language vocally, I think maybe the synthetics are not able. I don't know. I had no idea. So he spoke like, you know, an insect, like sounds like this,
Okay.
like, you know, crackling, like it was really super freaky, and he was stressed and in a hurry, and it was ordering the other ones and something, and they removed my the drones ones. They removed the straps at my ankles and at my neck, and they were about to remove the the wrists. Probably they wanted to send me back in a hurry, get rid of me in a hurry. At that moment, just before they tried to remove my wristbands, my ties, the door of the room exploded, but not exploded like an explosion with smoke, and because it wasn't like this. It was a big sound, very a deaf sound, like sound. I don't know. It was really weird sound, but it was deflagration, and the door just disintegrated. There was no flame, nothing, and the materials just went into dust. And what I thought was smoke, it was in fact the dust, and it was like very dusty atmosphere suddenly and debris. So, and I heard the voices of two men behind this door, and they were shouting, and they came in through the door, and that was the most scary moment. You know, I've had hypnosis. I've told this story so many times, but when it comes to that moment, I mean, two tall men entered, rushed in. They were wearing spacesuit, what I think environmental suit or spacesuit, like tied to the body, but plasticky feel and creamy color. And they had helmets, and with the lights and the dust, I couldn't really see their faces. All I could see, there was humans with kind of blonde hair, but I couldn't really see. They had weapons. It was small tubes, maybe like this, small tubes, and they fired rays at the four. There were four. The four synthetics who just collapsed. It went so fast, and it was very violent. And one of the men, it went very fast. And while one of the men undid my wrist bands, the other one caught the gray biological one, the captain, I suppose, and he strangled him. That was so shocking, because these grays, they're frightening appearance, especially for a child, and in a child in this situation, even for an adult, you know. But seeing one dying, strangled to death, this is ugly. this is absolutely ugly and horrible. But it was kind of a rage because he could have killed him, but he didn't. He had pleasure in doing it. And this one, so the one who strangled the gray, he lifted me in his arms, and I was completely numb, and I could feel his the plastic feel of his suit against my face, and they ran with me behind this door again, and there was a big flash of light, and it was like if there were stars, a vortex of stars around. And what I understood, I think we just teleported to another ship, their ship, and I was rescued, and that's how I was rescued. So once in this ship, it was totally different. It was very bright. The light seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. It was warm. That's the first thing I noticed. It was warm, and the air was better. Could breathe better. They lay me down on a couch, and so there was another man in the room, and a woman. So 3 men and a woman. The woman took care of me. So they were Nordic type extraterrestrials. The 2 men who had rescued me were removing their suit, but I could see this woman, she was wearing, as they all wear under their spacesuit, blue tight uniforms in a sort of a glittery material, a golden belt with little sort of devices on it. I was taught later that these belts are not just belts. They are devices that carry weapons, sensors, all sort of devices. She was blonde, straight hair, cut hair. She had a triangular face. She was of a different species than the men. She was way smaller. She had triangular face and huge green eyes, enormous green eyes. She was very kind. She cleansed my legs. She cleansed all the blood, and she started to take care of me medically. She tried to remove the implant. At the same time, once I was cleaned, my savior put his spacesuit jacket on me to cover my nudity and to make me warm, to keep me warm. And it was really warm, amazingly warm. And it was so warm that I could feel the temperature, although I couldn't move. That was so weird. And I kind of fell asleep and I relaxed. I felt more safe. And so at that moment, she was fiddling behind my head, and I couldn't feel anything. Maybe a bit tingling sometimes, but it wasn't painful. They were very careful not to hurt me. And she was putting her hand on my shoulder. She was very motherly with me, very nice. And then tension grew between her and my rescuer, the man whom I saw really that he had a blonde, wavy hair, shoulder length, big blue eyes, high cheekbones, very angular face structure, very muscular. They were all like this, the men. The woman was from another species. So this guy, my rescuer, he seemed to be in control of the ship, and he started to command her. They were talking telepathically, and he was doing this to her. They were having a change, and then they started talking a language. So sometimes they were talking telepathically, sometimes they were talking voice, and I couldn't understand this language. It sounded very nice. And it was like if she refused to do something that he was pushing her to do. And she finally accepted. and she re-fiddled again my implant. And I felt a little buzz, and suddenly things were different. I could understand what they were saying. That was very weird. And so I fell asleep at a stage, and I woke up afterwards. So what they did, I was explained, is that they couldn't remove my tracker, because I had a tracker. It was just a tracker monitor put by the Grace to track me and monitor my health, because they had put something in me. Well, the process aborted, so they couldn't complete their process. But they had put the tracker, and this tracker was active, and they would have been found by other Greys with me on board. So they need to get rid of the tracker. They couldn't remove it because they could have, but the way where it is, it's dangerous to remove it because it's in my brain. It's somewhere. It would have affected me. So what they did, they retuned it. They jam it and they retuned it in their frequencies.
Mhm.
So then that was it. And I woke up. Yeah, sorry.
So I was going to say, so essentially they kind of like repurposed it, so
Yes.
that it would, so rather than it being something that would emit a signal that the Greys would be able to track,
Mm.
they repurposed it so that it would now emit a frequency that, and maybe you're going to talk about this in terms of like future communications with them or them monitoring you. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I jumped in a little early and you were going to get to that, but if you didn't, maybe say a little bit about what it was that Grey implant had been repurposed to do that would enable you and your rescuers to communicate.
Yes. When I woke up, I sat. I was on full possession of my muscles and everything, and my rescuer came to me, and I could see. We were in the ship. I could see by the front screen the curvature of the Earth, and then I was shocked, and I just realized, oh my God, I'm really in. We are in space, and above Earth. Seeing that at 9 years old, it was like, oh my God. And so he came, he sat next to me, and he was very gentle. He said, listen, you have been abducted by malevolent beings, and you are too young to be explained what it was for. But be sure, we'd rescued you, and be sure that we will look after you all your life, and you are protected, because they will try to get you back, but we will not allow that. And he said, we have retuned the reassigned, well, the implant in your head that they have put to our frequencies. Then we will be able to monitor you and make sure you're safe always, and communicate with you if needed be. And I had millions of questions, but he said, I will now need to um, hide your memory, and we are bringing you home. And I protested. I didn't want to have my memory erased. Not erased, he said, hidden. And he put a hand on my head, and I fell asleep, and I woke up in my bed. So since this, I still have this implant. One day when I was at school, I was in my 18th, they activated it. I had several physical contact in between, but that day they activated the implant. I felt like suddenly somebody was sticking a nail in my head, and I fell on my knees, and it was very painful. And at the moment I said, that hurts, it stopped. The pain stopped, and I felt this buzzing, like somebody's looking for radio frequencies, like you turn the button, nearly like this. But it wasn't really like this, but it was similar. I thought about that. And suddenly I heard his voice in my head, as clear as if I was with someone at the phone. as clear as phoning to someone. And he said to me in French, because it was in France, it was happening. He said, "Do not worry, we are just doing some attunements, and I went, and I knew this voice. I could see in my head who it was, that it was this young man with blonde hair. And because I have had um, two or three contacts before, in between, that I may speak. So I recognized his voice. And I knew it was him, and I was okay. That was one time. And they didn't do it for a long time. And it's just recently that in 2018, they came back and they reactivate all that. And since then, I'm in contact with them quasi daily, but with him. That's the story.
So this the extraterrestrial that you were hearing, that was one of your rescues, is that Thoran? Is that
Thorhan? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So he is someone that is a central figure in your contact experiences and in the communications that you have. So you've had the physical encounters with the different types of extraterrestrials, the Greys and the Pleiadians who rescued you, and also Thoran, one of your rescuers. I mean, he is one of the key people that continues to communicate with you through this implant that had been originally a Grey implant, but now had been repurposed by this Pleiadian group.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah.
So that means that at any time, I mean, they can communicate with you through this implant and give information to you, and they've been doing that. And so how does that process work? I mean, because I've seen you doing in a few interviews with others, and you sometimes get into a telepathic communication, and other times you begin to channel. So why don't you just explain what the difference is?
Yes, sure. It's okay. They taught me how to activate it. This implant is switched on by an overload of energy. So usually it's emotional charge. That means if suddenly I'm scared of something, or I have a violent cries of tears, or something happens, my body produces electricity, and it just switches on it sends a signal. It switches on the implant, and it sends a signal, and they just brings their attention, so they connect, and they just what's going on. But then I learned how to do it, to activate it purposely, willingly. I understood that. So I went, okay, I'm going to produce a big load of energy with the key, magnetism. And because I've been studying Reiki and Qigong, so I could really understand that I can really concentrate energy and send it where the implant is, and just put all my heart to just buzz it to maximum. And sometimes it clicks. I promise I hear click like this, and it feels and there's a kind of a background noise. I hear it, and I'm connected with him, Thorhan. So how does it work? The different way of communicating. I've discovered with amazement that telepathy is not what I thought it was. That means that there are two levels of telepathic connection. One level is the emotional level and the thought level. That means it's like mind melt, like in the movies. It's like mind to mind connected. That means you can read each other's thought. That's on one level, but they never really do that because they respect everyone's privacy. Then, if they want to use telepathy, as they do very daily, basically they communicate like this, they won't communicate on this level of emotions and thought and mind. It's another level where it's a language level that is disconnected from the thought sphere of the mind. That means you can communicate, you can speak with someone telepathically, but you do not have access to his private thoughts. That was a discovery. So I don't know how to do that myself. I just know how to connect my mind, but they do it. They switch on this kind of channel, and so I won't be able to know what he thinks, and he will not be able to know what I think, but I will speak in my head and I will hear his voice as well. It's a communication like this, and that's very interesting. Channeling is something different. I do it less and less because I don't need to do it, never needed to do it. It's telepathic contact is great enough. But people have asked me to do channelings because they wanted to see and know. I went, okay, all right. But so I've been doing that for a while, but then I'm not an entertainment, so I stopped. So how it works, and that's the scary stuff. These implants, so this one is a great technology, but used by the Federation and the Pleiadians, but it is great technology. By these implants, anyone that is attuned to this sort of kind of implant can control physically a body. So this channeling, when it works with me, when I used to do it with Thoran, because I trust him, it's with my agreement, I give my consent, and by manipulating, he access by distance this implant, of course, and we agree that he's going to manipulate the top half of my body, my shoulders, the muscles of my shoulder, my neck, and my head, and my face, and use my voice. That's very creepy. But he explained to me he doesn't want to do it anymore either. But it just to amuse people, but now it's over. Because he said, this technology, when it is implanted in people against their will, and it can be very, very tiny, and people can be remotely controlled, and they don't even know it. They can remote control your thoughts, your voice, your speech, your actions, and even your thoughts. And he said, now you have an idea that these trackers, what they really are, they are trackers. They send a signal like a sat-nav signal, but they are attuned to your nervous system, and people can they plugged on it and they can do anything. And he showed me by this channeling, and I know now what these implants are able to do to you. And it's very scary because he told me he said, don't let anyone put into you the tracker dust. I know he's talking about the nano, we're not going to talk about that. And that's the same thing. So that was what I've learned about the technology of these implants and how it works.
Yeah, that's very, very important. What you just described there, that grey implant that was put into you back then. I guess we're talking around in 1979, 1980, yeah, when it was put into you. That their intent was that this would not only track you, but also could be used to control you, and that explains a lot of stories from abductees that say that they just kind of like begin to just lose their memories and just do exactly what the greys command them to do, and they just kind of like follow because they're literally controlled. But because your implant was repurposed by the Pleiadians, now you can manually activate it when you want, and that enables you to kind of like either telepathically communicate or to have the channeling two-way contact going with your Pleiadians, so you get information that way. But the mind control aspect has been pretty much deactivated in your part because the Pleiadians, you know, they respect your free will and they're trying to help raise consciousness on the planet. But that was not the original intent of the implant, and that kind of like, you know, brings to mind what Elon Musk is trying to do with his neural link. That you know, people think that this is all about being able to access the cloud, and this is part of the kind of coming wave. But in fact, we need to keep
the
in mind
cloud is
that
going to access you.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. It's a two-way process. That's the you not only can you access the cloud, but those that are in control of the cloud can access you and can control you. So yeah, that's very important that we understand that these implants have that kind of twofold process. That yes, you can get information going up, but also you can get information coming down where you're controlled or manipulated.
Yes, and that's something we do also with Thorhan. We can decide. He showed me that I can see through his eyes and hear with what he hears, or he can do that on the other way around. So it's very nice because sometimes I hear the click and the buzz, and I hear his voice. I want to show you something. So I close my eyes and I wait, and I see like a screen behind my eyes, and I see what he sees. If I open my eyes, it goes away, and it shows me stuff, where he is and what he does. And sometimes I do the same. I'm in a nice place on a beach, and I said, I connect, I click. Sometimes I can't, but sometimes it works. And I said, hey, I want to show you something. And I know there's a different intensity, and I look like I try to look very, very seriously, and then when I close my eyes, I know it disconnects, and he sees what I see. It's very nice.
Wow, that's great. So you can get a lot of kind of first-hand or uh,
Yes.
eyewitness memories of what is really happening in real time, and that's something that hopefully we can talk more about. You know, what Thoran is doing and what he's telling you about current events. So that brings me to this experience you had on November 9 and November 10, 2018. You wrote about it in the book, and there was this significant contact experience you had, and you were told about a dangerous period for the planet that would
Yeah.
occur in 2 years' time. So tell us about that.
It was in November 2018. Um, so I had nearly forgotten about them, although I have had a lot of different contacts, physical contact, beamed again about. That was another story. In 2018, I haven't had contact maybe for 15 years with them. And suddenly one night, you feel it was you need to go out. I live on the west coast of Ireland, and it was nighttime, and I went outside. I will live on the shore of the Atlantic and on the sea, and I just looked above and the sea, and I saw two UFOs just dancing in the sky, like, hey, look at us, They were doing this and moving in the same time and changing speed and coming back. And I went, hey! And suddenly I went, oh my God! And I could feel in my heart, they're back. Oh, wow, UFOs. Yeah, maybe it's my friends. Maybe. As I said, hey, I see you. Phew, they shot off on the sea. Phew, they disappeared. So there was a connection, and I went to bed, and this night I had a contact. But what I did, which I'm going to describe, but what I learned in the papers the following day just blew my mind even more, because this night is known in Ireland as the Shannon incident. The Shannon airport is next where I live, not very far. Two UFOs have been sighted by planes, two planes, commercial planes, and one of the planes has spoken with the control tower, and the conversation has been recorded, and you can find it. Shannon incident, Google it, and you'll find everything about it. So that night, I wasn't expecting it. Oh, I just saw UFOs. That's so cool. This is great, but I wasn't expecting the rest. Light beam in my bedroom. What? And this time I wasn't lifted. I was like teleported, but it was very quick. And I'm on board their ship again, my friends. And Thoran is here. There's way more people. Myra, the lady, is here. The others are here. There are more people, different uniforms and black hair, different races. And it's hugs and joy, and they are very happy, and everyone is buzzing with energy and joy and happiness in this ship. It's really impressive. I'm like, what's going on? And why? How? And Thoran says to me, we are back, like this, we are back. I went, yes, yes, great. What's up? You know? And he said, we are back because something extraordinary is going to happen for this planet. Something extraordinary is going to happen for this planet. And they were very enthusiastic about it. And that I always tell myself that I need to remember how enthusiastic they were, because it wasn't like, oh my God, we're coming by because that's gonna go so bad and we're here to help, but that's no, it was, yes, yeah, we're looking forward to it, you know? That was weird. That's great. That means very hopeful for our future. But then it was so, I say, what's gonna happen then? And then suddenly, oh, maybe we spoke too much. You know, they were like, oh, calm down. And so what's going to happen? He said, so he said, okay, I can't tell you what's going to happen. Just know that we are here. We come here to, he said these words. We came back to clear the mud at the bottom of the pond. He didn't say swamp, he said pond. That everybody sees it, and then the water will be cleared. I couldn't understand that. I went, oh yeah. And then he said, I can tell you that as well. Enjoy life. Go out, go to the pub as much as you can. See your friends, go and listen to some music, party a lot, and have social life as you haven't had before. Because in 2 years time, something's gonna happen and you won't like it. And he said, it's temporary, but that's gonna be a bit difficult. What's going to happen in 2 years time? And so he told me something then related to politics. Are we allowed to talk about politics, or?
Yes, no, politics is fine.
Okay, because he named a politician. Is it okay?
Yes, that's yes. Yeah, you can name the politician. That's okay.
I try not to. Okay, I try not to. So I said, okay, 2 years time is the American elections. Is that linked to it? And he went like, I said, okay, so it is. And I said, oh, will the the guy in place now be re-elected, and he said he will by the people, but you will see. I see. Okay, that's me talking politics, but that's him actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that, well, that was very interesting in the context of what happened. Recently, in December 2020, I told him that really didn't go how you said it would regarding to this political situation. And he said, it did. What I told you happened. But now people need to see the face of the dark and who their enemies are. And he said no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is about for the prediction he told me.
So that was that prediction was given to you in November 2018 in that
Yes.
contact experience where you were taken up into the ship, and
Yes.
that was actually a famous UFO sighting in Ireland, the
Yeah.
Shannon incident. So it's documented. So this is great because it means that you actually have independent corroboration for your contact experience.
Yeah.
This sighting there of the two UFOs that was seen and discussed, and you talk about that in your book.
Yeah.
So Thoran talks about this period that we're in right now, a period where the bottom of the pond, or if you want to call it the swamp, is going to be revealed and it's going to be purged. So we're in the middle of that, because right now,
Yeah.
as we all know, everyone is kind of like waiting to see what's going to happen, and there's a lot we could go into, but we probably want to focus on your experiences.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about these things, too much. It's not related to me.
That's right. But I think talking about the Galactic Federation is important, because that seems to be something. Because I personally have been aware of the Galactic Federation for several decades now. Worked with a number of contactees, Alex Collier being one of them, and I know you're going to be interviewing him in a week or so. So that's great to see Alex out there and still sharing his information. But yeah, the Galactic Federation is an organization that Thoran and this Pleiadian group belongs to. So why don't you tell us what you know of the Galactic Federation and Thoran's role with it?
Yes. So I discovered that on board this ship there was different races. He was from the Pleiades, another guy as well. The lady was from Sirius B, and another guy was from Epsilon Eridani. So it was a mix of races, and I couldn't really get it. So I was explained later on that they are one of the many scout ships that are rescuing people from abductions, and they try to rescue as much people as possible, and when it's children, it's great. And then I learned that they are doing operations, not only rescuing people. They are part of a very ancient organization called the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Then they rarely say of worlds, they say the Galactic Federation. So it's a benevolent federation of many worlds that have reached a level, they call it level 2, it's interstellar travel. But that means that your civilization is able to leave the boundaries of your solar system with inhabited flights. So that's the requirement.
Could you explain that again? I didn't get that. What kind of flights?
Interstellar flight with people on board.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's the technological requirement, because once you've reached this stage, you are ready to share higher knowledge, technological knowledge with other civilizations, because they put all the knowledge in common, the technological and medical knowledge in common in this federation, that everybody shares and benefit from each other. But you need for that to have reached a certain level, minimum level. But that also is not the only requirement. The the other requirement, which is as important, is that you have reached a stage of peace, that you are a benevolent species and you have no desire to harm anyone, that you have reached a certain stage of wisdom, and that your planet is federated in peace, like its own, a federated world in peace. And that is a condition. They even, they won't accept a world civilization who despite the level of technology, is fighting each other and being belligerent and killing each other, and has ideas of conquering other worlds to take resources. No, that they don't take these ones. And we're a bit like this, I have to say. So they are trying very hard to help us reaching a stage of peace, getting on with each other. The problem is that our occupants, they do the contrary. They manipulate us to try to maintain us in a stage of uh, arguing with each other, divide and conquer. So this Galactic Federation looks after the balance and justice in this galaxy, the peace. So people say, oh, but what about the Galactic Federation of Light? So I have been answered to that this name as such doesn't exist. People, when they say Galactic Federation of Light, they mention the Galactic Federation of worlds, but they don't know really about it. So they say of light, oh, because they're fighting for the light and dark. It's very Manichaean, but it's more subtle than this. The Galactic Federation works for balance, and sometimes balance involves allowing some destructive force to harm a culture, that this culture learns and grows from it and reaches a stage of wisdom that they would have never reached otherwise. Sometimes, so they are not like Justice League killing all the baddies. They look for balance. That's what I've been explaining. It's something very delicate to understand, and they go by one greatest universal rule, and all, even the baddies, the malevolent ones, also go by this same rule: free will. This is for them a sacred, for everyone in this galaxy. It's like they've understood that this is the law of evolution, the law of all life. Free will. It is only by your free decision that the actions you do by your own, that you evolve. Um, so they respect. So they respect our decisions. It is they have been helping us since a very, very, very long time. They were, that what I've been told, their attention was brought towards our little planet at the fringe of this galaxy by the Andromedan Council, who had foreseen our future and have said to the Federation, who are more a military kind of organization, hey, this little blue planet there at the edge of the galaxy, they're going to be in trouble soon. So let's do something about it. So, so they've been helping us behind the scenes, not to interfere with our evolution, but they've been helping us a lot. They've created recently something that they call the Alliance. It's or the Earth Alliance. It's a military alliance of forces between this Galactic Federation and some Earth military departments, factions, but benevolent ones, to help clearing all the undergrounds, notably, things like that, you know. So that's what the alliance is. What else about this Galactic Federation? So yes, they insisted. Oh yeah. So recently, because you have me started on that, recently recently there has been messages they've started to pass because humanity is awakening, consciousness of humanity is awakening, and we start to realize that we are more powerful than we were conditioned to believe. So that's the moment, that's now, that's the window when we stand up in our sovereignty and step out of slavery. So the Galactic Federation has started to send out messages to as many contactees as they could to say, realize you have free will, request assistance to the Galactic Federation as equal, stand on your feet, do not kneel, do not consider yourself inferior as us, because it is again maintaining yourself in state of slave. Request assistance. We already give you assistance. It's not the point. The point is, by you requesting assistance, you liberate yourself from a slavery that has been decided for you in the 1950s.
Yes, very important what you mentioned there about the Andromeda Council connection to all of this. And that was the Andromeda Council that brought the attention of the Galactic Federation, a more kind of military organization, to the importance of Earth for the future of the galaxy. Because as I recall, Alex Collier talked about this around 1991, so it's like 30 years ago. He talked about the Andromeda Council, saying that they could see, or that they came because 400, I think it was around 400 years in our future, or in the future, there would be a galactic tyranny that would emerge and would take over the galaxy, kind of like in the Star Wars, you know, the Empire suddenly emerges and takes over the galaxy. And Alex said that what the Andromedans did was that they traced the source of this tyranny. Where does it come from? Because it suddenly erupted 400 years in the future, and he says that they traced it back to the Earth, the Moon, and Mars in this period of time.
Oh my God.
And so that's, and they said that this was where this future galactic tyranny would grow out of. And that exactly matches the information that I've been getting from people like Corey Good, Bill Tompkins, and many others that I've talked about in the Secret Space Program book series, where the Germans, because they reached an alliance with the reptilians, established a base first in Antarctica. Then they went to the moon and established a base there with the help of the reptilians, and then went to Mars, and now that's the center of their operations. This German Antarctic, this German Antarctic colony, and so this is where you have the Earth, Moon, Mars connection, and the Germans on Mars are working with the reptilians, and it's called the Dark Fleet. Everyone talks about the Dark Fleet, and the Dark Fleet is going out there and assisting the reptilians in conquering all of these human worlds. And presumably, if this continues, this is how this galactic tyranny will emerge. So right now, because all of this information is emerging, and as you were talking about, the Galactic Federation is here. They're trying to help us, not by overtly intervening, but by kind of raising consciousness, spreading the awareness of what's going on. and that way we are being helped to expose the swamp, or to expose the deep state, and because that deep state, this swamp, is all predicated behind the scenes on this kind of Fourth Reich, this German reptilian alliance that is working with the cabal, that has
Yep.
bases in Antarctica, the moon, and Mars, and is fueling this kind of interplanetary conquest through the Dark Fleet. So right now, this is the period where, either we succeed, and it seems that according to what you were told back in 2018, that we do succeed in kind of exposing this. There's going to be a great awakening, that the truth is coming out. And not only do we free our planet from centuries and millennia of deep state and reptilian control, but we also stop this galactic tyranny from emerging 400 years in our future.
Yeah, I've been told that the fate of the galaxy is at stake at the moment with what's happening on Earth. You go, what? Yeah, it's understandable. And I've been told as well at these facilities on Mars, ruled by, there are reptilians mainly, but there are greys as well. But the reptilians rule there, and the moon as well. Moon were greys. So there's been recently huge battles behind the moon. Thorhan told me the moon has been purged out of the greys, the extraterrestrial occupation. And that has been going on for a long time. Fights, really very violent fights. And recently, like I think 2 months ago, he said to me, it's secure now. They are going to try to attack again, but it's secured. Why? Because the moon is a strategic position, and it's access to Earth. It's very easy to monitor Earth, and it's drilled with tunnels and facilities. It's like, and so all the slaves taken, what I've been told about this human slave trafficking workforce mainly. They were brought first to Antarctica, concentrate there, and from Antarctica brought either to the moon, either to Mars. But moon was usually the first step, and then dispatched. On Mars, it's horrendous what's happening there. Phobos and Deimos, these two satellites, are two slave facilities for the Zeta Reticuli and, well, Solipsirae, as they call them, and the Mitra. Mitra are despicable tall greys. That's horrible people. And Mars, well, yeah, that's it. So the moon at the moment has been secured. So I connect once with Thorhan, and that was these moments where I could see through his eyes, and he was in a ship, and I could see a triangular black ship imploding in the front, and destroyed. And it was in the middle of the conflict behind the hidden side of the moon, and then he went away from this scene of combat, and we spoke a few minutes before I need to disconnect, and he explained to me that in a solar system, in a star system, the more advanced civilization has the duty to look after the life forms on all the other planets of the system. If they can't because they're not evolved enough, some structures like the Galactic Federation or other councils, they are allowed to protect this life from invaders. The time the main civilization grows and is able to do it. And then he said, each satellite belongs, this planet satellite belongs to the planet it orbits around. And he said, for instance, if there is life on Mars, but indigenous local life, you are not allowed to go and take their satellites. It's, he explained to me all these things. And so they've secured the moon. And he said, the moon doesn't belong to us, but we'll secure it for you. Now, what I I know is there are many different human companies that have been built mining facilities on the moon. There's Chinese, there's many countries. But he said, that's not our problem. You do whatever with your satellite, he said. We're not to interfere. You want to destroy it, destroy it. It's yours. There's no life form there. There's nothing we need to protect. If you kill each other on the moon, we don't intervene. We're not concerned. But if there was indigenous life form, we would be concerned, of course. That's the story. So yeah, Thorhan, when he rescued me, was a ship pilot, well, ship captain and pilot, and he has been upgraded as a fleet commander. They have many little fleet, not really a big commander, but that's it.
You mentioned the Earth Alliance and the Galactic Federation
Yeah,
working with world leaders. So
yeah.
I've heard that President Trump has been working with the Galactic Federation and actually may himself be a Pleiadian. So can you say anything about that? Do you know anything?
I know, yes, he's been working with them, the Galactic Federation. I don't think he is a Pleiadian. I don't think he is. Um, but his wife has extraterrestrial origins. That I've been told.
Okay, very, very, very. Yeah, that's typical, isn't it, for powerful people, powerful men especially. That it's the wife that brings in the cosmic connection. Yeah. One of the people that has come out recently and said that President Trump is working with the Galactic Federation is a professor from Israel, Haim Eshed, who actually was the head of Israel's space program for nearly 30 years. And before that, he worked for Israel's military intelligence community. And he actually said that Trump was in communications with the Galactic Federation and was ready to actually reveal what was going on. But the Federation said, no, humanity isn't ready yet. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I've heard the same thing about human. Yeah, I've heard as well they are working. So they've told me, yeah, USA, is Israel, France, and Japan. They said mainly there are other countries, but the biggest connection they have is with USA, Israel, France, and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Probably others, but they didn't say. Yes, everything you said has been. I've heard the same. What did I want to say? Forget.
Mm-hmm. But that's important that you, from what you know, that the Galactic Federation is working with leaders from around the world. But you identified those four countries: the United States, Japan, Israel, and France. That Israel is working with the Galactic Federation. So that means that, and because Haimi Eshed was the head of Israel's space program, that he himself would have had firsthand knowledge of what the Galactic Federation was doing. And the
Yes.
fact that he came out and publicly gave an interview where he talked about this and talked about some of the things you were saying, that the Galactic Federation is saying that we aren't technologically ready yet because we need to kind of like get closer to becoming an interstellar society, and also that we need to be more united as a planet. That he was also saying those sorts of things.
Yes, and there's a dimension also of consciousness that is involved. We are considering humanity is in general considering themselves as willingly slaves to be manipulated and be. It's like we've been maintained in a kind of the dark age of ignorance about who we truly are, and now everyone is trying to wake us up to look how you are powerful. You look at all your psychic abilities, and once we realize our kind of interdimensional dimension of our consciousness and everything we can do, you know, we will be more able to understand and to deal with these beings, because I could experience it myself. I've been up there sometimes. Most of the time I go there, they beam me physically, but sometimes when it's too dangerous, I've been taken out of my body, my being out of my body, and rematerialized there. And how all these things, oh my God, you know, we can do this. And how you know, that's, we need to understand who we are really. So they say as well, we are not ready yet, and that involves as well fear and chaos. Thorhan said to me, there is enough chaos on your planet at the moment not to add up to it. A fleet, an armada of sheep just arriving and landing in front of the White House or in your, you know, it says, we're not going to do that and add more stress to everything. And anyway, we will not do it because it is war. And if we do this, we can be attacked. The war is not over. Something very important, he says often, he says, tell them that we are not here to save you, but we came to help you saving yourselves. Because that he repeats that to me all the time, and he says, if we would be to save you, if we would save you, you wouldn't have learned and grown, and some drama would come again and you would be obliged to deal with it. This is evolution. You need to grow up and liberate yourself. And we are here to help you. We won't let you down. You know, I've heard this sentence from someone very, quite extraordinary, which is Valthor. He said to me, whom I met, we will never let you down. We never had and we never will. I broke in tears when he said that to me.
Mm-hmm. You did mention in one of your interviews that you had this encounter with Valiant Thor in, I think, December 2020. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Valiant Thor is and his connection with the Galactic Federation and what's happening on planet Earth at the moment?
Yes. I was doing these channelings on YouTube, and some people were asking me, "Oh, ask to talk to Valiant Thor," and I barely heard the name. I didn't really know who this guy was. So I asked Thor, and he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "I don't think it will work because I don't even know if I will dare bothering this person." So he told me that Valiant Thor is not his name, it's Commander Val Thor, and Valiant is an interpretation, Earth interpretation of the name that means brave, but it's not in his name. He is indeed living on Venus. He is of the race Tal. The Tal, they look like me, Caucasian, brown hair. They are from the Pleiades as well, but they have settled on Venus since a very, very, very long time, and they consider themselves Venusians. They called this planet the Venus Nara. So he said he's still working on missions with the governments on Earth, but he is very secret and he doesn't want to have any more interaction with humans because he was tired of interacting with humans. So Thorhan said to me, "You don't stand a chance." So he said, "I will put a request. You never know." And so 2 months later, Thorhan had no response. So he said to me, "You better forget it." And one night, Thorhan connected and he said, "I have a surprise for you." He said, somebody you wanted to talk to is with me. And in this moment, you know, when they decide, you have no choice than letting down everything you're doing at the moment and just prepare to beam up. And I was beamed up on the mothership, which Thorhan calls the station, which is in orbit of Earth. He works there. And I couldn't believe my eyes. It takes me always a few seconds to accoutumate to, you know, the lights. It's like lit sparkles of light everywhere. So my vision is not sharp from straight away. And sensation in the body, and it lasts few seconds. And then I realized Thorhan was there. There were two other men with white silvery uniform, which was, I recognized, the Tal uniform. They were both very tall, short brown hair, muscular, big neck, like muscular, and one of them had clear brown hair, very sharp, very short, and he was looking at me, and I was feeling that was him, and I was feeling kind of an aura, very powerful aura from the magnetism from this person. He was very charismatic. So this is not the first one you see in the first. This is the guy just behind him.
Oh, so that's not Valiant Thor, the person holding the newspaper? Is it the one in the middle?
Yeah, he looked like the one in the middle, but he had a stronger chin than this one. He said that it wasn't him, and I don't recognize him because he was more muscular than this guy.
Okay, so the person you saw was neither one of these two that people often associate with Val Thor.
Yeah, no, he looked like a lot like the guy in the second. It could have been him, but the thing is, the hair were different, they were shorter, and he had a bigger chin. But you know, the photo is maybe because he's just putting his head like this. But the lady, what just hit me is the lady, because I met the lady afterwards. That's his. She's an extraterrestrial. This lady, I met her, and so.
So that lady we see there, I think Commander Jill Dunn, I think they called her.
Gillian. I met her afterwards. Yes.
I see. Okay.
So that's how I clicked, and I went, okay. That I saw her, and I went, I know this person. I saw her on a photograph, and that was her. So what Val Thor told me about this photo is that the person in the first plane is not him. It's Frank Strange's, because he had a bit of a problem with this person. When he was there, he stayed there 3 years. And he wanted to meet, he met with many people from different religions. He was curious about religions. And he was there also, he was there also to learn and to learn about people. And so he met this Frank, and he said this person, he was very nice, he was very curious, but he said he took advantage of to promote his religion, and he didn't like that. He said, I couldn't say anything. I was told by my council to communicate with the earthlings in their language, with their expressions and concepts that they could understand. So he arrived in a country which was very religious at the time, in the late 50s. So he needed to go with the flow, not to shock anyone. And of course, Frank Strangers, who really loved him, just couldn't stop, telling about him and using Valthor to promote his beliefs, which are nice. I mean, everybody's entitled to his own beliefs, but Val wasn't really happy with that, but he couldn't say anything. That is how he decided that he wouldn't interact with Earthlings anymore, not to cause that confusion, because they were getting the Earthlings said Earthlings can become a bit excited with this kind of encounters. So, but that wasn't, that's not important. What's important is what he told me about President Eisenhower, because we went straight to the point. Well, I went straight to the point. The first discussion. I said, so what happened? So that's what he explained to me. In the 1940s, the Greys of the Orion Alliance had decided to take over Earth. Reptilians were already there, but the Greys reptilians were not really involved in that. They just plugged on the thing. So it's all about the Greys, this story. The Greys could have taken over the Earth like this, because they have the power to throw this planet out of orbit if they want. They didn't. Why? Because of the Galactic Federation. They would have started a war. They would have broken the law of non-intervention or free will. So their tactic that they use, and the reptilian also, everywhere else in this galaxy, is the same tactic. They will get the population of the world they want to invade to consent to be invaded, officially to sign for it. Then, free will, the Galactic Federation cannot intervene because they go against the free will of the population. So the Greys' work was to get the most powerful leaders of this planet representing humanity to sign agreements with them on behalf of humanity. So these agreements were that you agree that we settle on your planet, you offer us facilities, you let us settle here and do our business, and in exchange, we give you technology and we help you in war technology and enforcing your weapons. Great. The thing is, Eisenhower never wanted to sign for that. And Valthor told me, and I could feel emotion. He said, this man, he said, talking about Eisenhower, he said, he employed these words, he said, he was a remarkable man. He said, because he loved his children and grandchildren, especially his grandchildren, so much that he didn't want a world where his grandchildren would have grown up in the nightmare we are in today. So happened that at the moment the Greys contacted Earth, the Galactic Federation said, there's something we can do. We can offer the Earthlings the choice. They will choose. The balance. They work for balance. So they sent a contingent to meet President Eisenhower. There were different races from the Federation, mostly humanoids, not to scare everyone. And they said, okay, here is what we offer to you. Do not sign with these people. We praise you. If you sign with the Greys, you go to your doom. They do trickeries, they are liars. If we offer you in exchange, if you want to sign with extraterrestrials to exchange technology, we can offer us, the Galactic Federation, and we will help you to uh, disarm all your weapons, get on with each other, build a world, federated world where everybody lives in unity. We will give you medical knowledge and we will help you get out of this. And so Eisenhower wanted this world for his grandchildren because he loved children so much. That's Val Thor who told me that. He loves children so much. And he was about to decide with the Federation, and behind his back, the MG12, the MJ12 signed with the Greys and all the government. And even President Eisenhower, even if he fought hard for that, he could never rescind disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, in one hand, peace and love, and in the other hand, super war technology. Yeah, that, you know. So, so what the Galactic Federation has been doing since then is to try to wake up people, telling them, hey, you have the right to rescind disagreements if you request assistance to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they have been helping a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I want to bring it to a close because we're about an hour and a half now into this. So um, this awakening process that the
Yes.
Galactic Federation is encouraging and helping us. You know, this is what we're in at the moment. So, and a lot of people are very discouraged. A lot of people
Yeah.
are thinking terrible things are about to happen. So do you have any kind of words of encouragement for people as we are in this very difficult time, and what to look forward to regarding this great awakening?
Yes, I would say I'm very hopeful because I know those who work as our allies put their lives at risk. They die for us. And Thorhan once said to me, do you think we would be here putting our lives at risk if we were thinking it wasn't worth it? It does. And they showed me a future timeline, which is at the moment we are on this timeline where every countries of all the countries are federated. That's going to happen. Medical knowledge that has been given to us and free energy is going to be released and accessible. It's starting to happen. Never lose hope because we have the ability to build our future, to create it, because you have such a power with our mind of creation. You have no idea. We have been lied to like we are just biological forms. We're not. We are interdimensional beings and we are very powerful. It's time we wake up and we embrace it and we refuse fear. Anything that induces fear and confusion, let us refuse it and center in ourselves. And there's a propaganda, of course, that has been thrown since very lately against the Galactic Federation. Oh, they're evil, they work with the cabal, blah, blah, blah. It's because people are starting to realize that they can request assistance and stand up as galactic beings that we are. So don't listen all this noise. Just listen to your heart and know that you are powerful and the future is really, really bright. It's gonna get difficult to get there. It's not over, but never ever despair. There's no reason to.
So anything you would like to share about your upcoming events and where people can get your book and anything else you recommend?
Well, I contacted Alex Collier, and it's very exciting to have exchanges because we are exchanging the same data. We've in contact with the same people, and it's quite exciting. So I'm interviewing him on my channel, YouTube channel, Elena Danaan, on the 23rd of March, very soon. So look, you can look up at my channel. There's plenty of interviews and interesting things. You can get my book, A Gift from the Stars, that I have here. illustrated by myself with my drawings, on Amazon, but not only, on Barnes and Noble. So if you go to my website, you have all the links, elenadanaan.org. So that's about me.
Thank you, Elena, so much for sharing all of that. This has been an incredible interview. We've covered really a lot of territory. Look forward to our next interview and maybe getting to talk more about the 110 extraterrestrial races you identify in your book. I think that would be very valuable. So thank you and aloha.
My pleasure. Aloha.